What's up, everybody? We're going to do take two this week. Had a intruder, little little guy. He's pretty cute. But yeah, let's give this one another go here. This is the Madden Curse Week 4 recap, Week 5 matchups and predictions. Looking at last week on the pick'em results, we went 3-3. We're 16-8 year to date, 2-2 on locks, 2-2 on upsets. We got both of those wrong this week. I picked myself over Scott. That was wrong. 0-1. I picked Marshall over Fat. That one was right. Um, Dan over Jason. We got that one right. Alec Jordan over Alex. This was probably the worst pick I've made all year. I think Alex put up the highest maybe score ever in the league. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. Trent over Frank. Got that one right. That was maybe the closest matchup. Definitely two two high scoring matches, opponents. So that was cool. And then Battle of the Homies, Brent versus JT. I picked Brent. Got that one wrong as well. So 3-3, no locks, no upsets. Let's look at the breakdown. First matchup, myself versus Scott. I put up 97 points to Scott's 116. Scott is 3-1. I am 1-3. I had 10 points from Kyler Murray, 18 from Jerome Ford, 8 from Devon Achan, 7 from Garrett Wilson, 23 from Malik Neighbors, 10 from Dalton Kincaid, and 7 out of Brandon Ayuk. On Scott's side, he had 13 from Mahomes, 14 out of Jacobs, 24 points from Tony Pollard, Stephon Diggs with 18, Keenan Allen with 5, Dallas Goedert with 13, George Pickens with 16 points there. So Scott got the dub. He's 3-1. Pretty solid record for a guy whose number one pick has not played 1 second this year. Next matchup was Marshall versus Fat. Marshall won this one 127-97. Marshall 3-1. Fat is 2-2. Marshall scored 16 out of Baker Mayfield. 29 out of Baker Mayfield. 16 out of Saquon Barkley. I just assumed the 29 was next to Saquon's name. Kyron Williams had 25. Nico Collins had 33. Zay Flowers had 2. Kyle Pitts, gotta love it. Kyle Pitts, 0 points. And Devin Singletary, 8 points. On Fat's side, Joe Burrow had 16. Brees Hall had 6. Jordan Mason had 30. Michael Pittman had 17. Khalil Shakir had 10. I don't know if I've ever seen this before in my life. Mark Andrews had 0. We had 0 fantasy points from both tight ends. I, I gotta know. Has that ever happened? I don't know. Ramondre Stevenson had 11 points. Didn't leave too much on the bench. Christian Kirk had 19 points. I mean, maybe if he could have started him over Mark Andrews, which he could not, he still would have lost. So, didn't matter. Next matchup, we had Dan scoring 112 points to Jason's 100. Jason is 1-3. Dan's 2-2. Dak Prescott had 17 points. Chuba Hubbard had 27 points. J.K. Dobbins had 13. C.D. Lamb had 24. Marvin Harrison Jr. 16. Hunter Henry 3. Rasheed Rice had 0 points. He got hurt in the game. I think he just went on IR. Patrick Mahomes took him out. I wonder what happened there. Jason's side, he had 11 points out of Caleb Williams, 13 out of Bijan Robinson, 8 points out of James Cook, 15 out of DK Metcalf, 13 from Chris Godwin, 7 from Zach Ertz, and 23 points from Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs. Anything on the bench that would have won him the game? 18 points from Terry McLaurin. If he had started, no. he would have had to have started Terry McLaurin and Cortland Sutton, who had 15. And if he had benched, no, wouldn't work. Would have lost anyway. That's the best way to be. Next matchup, the one I got horribly wrong here. Alex, he put up 195. I don't ever do the points. Let me do it. As many points as he scored. 195.57 to Jordan's 114. Alex 4-0. Jordan 0-4. Looking really good as a SACKO candidate. Um, I will say before I picked Jordan to win, he did not have Andy Dalton as his starting quarterback. He did have C.J. Stroud there. Not that it would have helped in this matchup, but I just want to preface that. Andy, and I do love Andy Dalton. He's the man. Andy Dalton had 16 points. Rashad White had 13. Aaron Jones had 23. Amon St. Brown had 21. DJ Moore with 11. Jake Ferguson with 12. Darnell Mooney with 9. On Alex's side, a whole lot of points coming up. Jaden Daniels 24. Jonathan Taylor 25. And I think he hurt his ankle. I'm not sure on the specific body part, pause, but something got hurt. Derrick Henry had 42 points. Mike Evans, 23 points. Brian Thomas, 22 points. 9 points out of Sam Laporta and 18 out of David Montgomery. Like I said, I think this might be the highest score ever. I don't know if anyone's ever broken 200. Definitely got 20 bucks, so congrats. Next match, Trent versus Frank. Probably the most exciting match. Trent wins 141 to 131. Frank 0-4, SACKO candidate, and Trent 2-2, right in the middle in the mix. Trent got 7 points out of Josh Allen, last year's reigning fantasy champion, I believe. Josh Allen, not Trent. He didn't win last year. He finished second. Um, I forget who he lost to. DeAndre Swift had 33 points, so way to go, DeAndre. Braylon Allen with 7. Justin Jefferson with 20. Deontay Johnson with 21. 17 out of Tucker Kraft. 17 out of Chris Olave. And on Frank's side, Derek Carr, 8 points. Travis Etienne, 10. James Conner, 23. Guy just keeps going. Jamar Chase, you know what? His projections are high, but he had a better game. Not quite as good as last week, I don't think, but 18 points. Basically hit for projection. Amari Cooper, we're on the roller coaster. 7.5, 8 points. Mike Gesicki, he did not score 0. He scored 0.1. So I guess he ran the ball for 1 yard. Okay. And then Kenneth Walker had 37 points, which kept it interesting for Frank. Unfortunately, couldn't pull it out. He had Jordan Love on the bench, who had 28 points. If he had started Jordan Love over Derek Carr, he would have won this game, and he would not be tied for the SACKO. Don't let that moment haunt you for the rest of your season, especially if you do win the SACKO. Last matchup of the week, Battle of the Homies. JT versus Brent. JT wins 118 to 114. The last 2 matchups of the week, most exciting. Brent gets his first loss. Put him in first place. He gets his first loss. He's 3-1. JT 3-1. JT's another one of the teams that's kind of scary, just considering he's 3-1 and he's had AJ Brown on the bench for most of the season. Joe Mixon on the bench for I think at least half the season, and Cooper Kupp, who he traded for, hasn't played a game yet either. If he gets 2 of those guys back fully healthy, he's got a pretty potent lineup here. But the guys that did play, Jalen Hurts had 16, Brian Robinson with 26, Zach Moss with 22, Rashid Shaheed with 16, Quentin Johnson. See, he needs AJ Brown back. 2 points. Travis Kelce, 16 points. Cam Akers in the flex, 9 points. Brent had 24 points out of Lamar Jackson, 30 points out of Alvin Kamara, 14 points out of Najee Harris, 8 points out of Tyreek Hill, 12 points out of T. Higgins, and 5 out of Brock Bowers, 10 out of Debo Samuel. That was the matchups for last week. Let's take a look here at what we got going on this week. Before we do that, let's go ahead and update the rankings. Week 5 rankings in the 12th spot. We got Jordan. 11, we got Frank. 10, Lando. 9, Fat. 8, Jason. 7, Trent. 6, Dan. 5, Scott. 4, JT. 3, Brent. 2, Marshall. Number 1, first time ever. History of ever. Alex. I think I already did these rankings earlier, but it's all right. You know, I know you guys like to hear it. Let's go to the matchups for this week. If I can find what I did with the picks. I see what I did there. I see what I did. I need to edit this, boys. I wrote week 4 pick'ems. We're in week 5. There we go. Week 2 pick'ems. Week 3. Week 4, we didn't have pick'ems. I must have deleted something on accident. I don't know. Something messed up with the picks. Sorry here, guys. My bad. Radio dead silence is the worst. All right, so I picked Dan over myself this week. Projections are 117. I don't have a defense or kicker in yet, so I'll just add. He's got. Dang, he's got high projections: 8, 7, 13, 14 points. I guess we'll cut. I'll say 12 points. So 117 to 112, 114. Um, he's got Dak Prescott at Pittsburgh, Chuba Hubbard at Chicago, Chase Brown playing Baltimore, CeeDee Lamb at Pittsburgh, Marvin Harrison Jr. at San Francisco, and Evan Ingram, maybe he's questionable versus the Colts. Flexing Tyrone Tracy, so I guess he's thinking Singletary's not going to play this week. Or it's a mind game. I like that. I like that a lot. You know what? I'm just realizing right now that it is almost game time. And I don't know if I have looked at my lineups yet. So, 1 second here. Of course, I've looked at my lineups. But, alright, they're all playing Sunday. Alright, we're back. Let's see. I said, oh, everybody on his side. I don't think I named my guys. Kyler Murray's at the Niners. Jerome Ford at Washington. Devon Chan at New England. Garrett Wilson at Minnesota. Dontavian Wicks at the Rams. Assuming that my guy Malik Nabers is out with that concussion. Probably gonna throw Wicks in there. Wicks season, baby. Dalton Kincaid at Houston, and Brandon Ayuk versus Arizona. So I think it'll be a close matchup. Dare I say, 2 best wide receiver rooms? I don't know. I'm 1-3. I don't have much of anything good, but CeeDee Lamb, Marvin Harrison, that's a pretty good combo for wide receivers. Next matchup of the week, we got 2-2 Fat at 3-1 Scott. Projections are 116 to 106 in favor of Fat, which is why Scott is my crying cat face emoji of the week. Upset alert, baby. Hey, what's going on here? This thing's broken. It's showing. I'm looking at Fat's team, and it's showing me Dan's team. What do we got going on here? Now, this is not a me error. There we go. They're back. All right. Mr. Matthew, he's got Joe Burrow playing Baltimore, Brees Hall at Minnesota, Jordan Mason versus Arizona, Michael Pittman at Jacksonville, Christian Kirk at Indianapolis, Cade Otton at Atlanta, Ramondre Stevenson versus Miami, Scott's got Pat Mahomes versus New Orleans, Josh Jacobs at the Rams, Alexander Madison at Denver, Stephon Diggs versus Buffalo, Keenan Allen versus Carolina, George Kittle's questionable versus Arizona. I think he played last week though. And George Pickens versus Dallas. I like Scott. We're sticking with it. That's it. Next matchup, Jason over Marshall. Jason versus Marshall. Did I just pick Jason over Marshall? Marshall's a great team. Believe it or not, Jason is projected 126 to 121. Not that it matters. Marshall's 3-1. Jason's 1-3. Jason has Brock Purdy versus Arizona, Bijan Robinson versus Tampa Bay, James Cook at Houston, Drake London versus Tampa Bay, Chris Godwin at Atlanta, Zach Ertz versus Cleveland, DK Metcalf questionable versus the Giants. And on Marshall's side, he's got Baker Mayfield at Atlanta. He's got Kyron Williams versus Green Bay. He has Devin Singletary at Seattle, who is questionable. We'll see if he plays. The big noticeable hole there is there's no Saquon Barkley. He's on a bye. He's got Nico Collins at versus Buffalo, Zay Flowers at Cincinnati, Kyle Pitts versus Tampa Bay, Jacoby Myers at Denver. So that's the main reason why we're going with Jason is Saquon Barkley's on a bye.